I know I complain a lot on this channel about the differences in conduct of other people, and I would like to preface this one with a bit of context of why that is. When I fixate on something that is so seemingly small, it's not actually just about that instance. It's about that instance being an example of a larger issue or pattern. My brain doesn't experience things in isolation. When I encounter something small, sometimes it's just the cherry on top of a pile of other similar or telling things. The best example would be when a restaurant gets your order wrong. I'm willing to forgive that, so long as it's not egregious like the chicken's undercooked. Sometimes shit happens. But it's a big deal to me to be spending money on something that's supposed to be a treat. So if the ratio suddenly skews, like once a favorite restaurant of ours did poor execution and didn't prepare our food with all of the ingredients that were required, 3 out of 5 times of the last times that we ordered, that's it. Like, we haven't gone back in years. So when I complain about this, know that I am not simply ungrateful or indignant of the scraps that I receive from the older, wealthier socioeconomic class of my partner's generation. I can be aware that I am privileged to get anything and be within their proximity while also acknowledging the disparity. So, the anecdote. My partner's father likes to buy slightly more gourmet things on a whim, like double priced barbecue sauces, top cuts of meats. And to be clear, I technically have no problem with that. If it makes him happy, it's his money, and his right to experience things he likes with the resources that he has. And he is not inherently beholden to refrain himself simply because the people in his immediate circle do not share the same ability to indulge in luxury. The world isn't fair, and he's an extremely generous man, actually. In buying new foods and sauces, there's always the risk that, despite the price, they won't be good. Personally, actually, I find that the more you spend on things, they're usually bad, but it's just me, comparatively. Anyway, as much as I might know what it's like to be in the struggle and often force myself to eat bulk shitty foods because that's what was available and I couldn't afford waste, I don't actually think he should subject himself to eating anything that he truly doesn't like, especially since he doesn't have to. The problem lies in the purchase of luxury items, which he'll try once, think it's fine, and then completely forget about until the point that it's gone bad. At that point, it's not really about acceptable risk on something new, it's just careless waste. And the hardest part for me to navigate, as someone who feels like such a burden but also feels a responsibility to mitigate waste on principle, is that no matter how hard I try, I still cannot manage. Like, he likes to share things, the nice, expensive, fancy things. Buy a wheel of cheese and crackers and invite everyone to come share, you know? And as someone who is part of that invitation, it's my job to internally negotiate how much is acceptable to accept of that offering. Like, you can't take too much or you're an asshole, but take too little and try to leave more for the actual owner to indulge in later, and it just ends up going to waste. And it feels impossible sometimes. So the actual instance in question was a bag of jerky. He brought it home, and as usual, the invitation was extended to everyone to try. Weeks went by and it just sat around, never got opened. So I thought, well, I'll open it, have a couple pieces, and that will prompt other people to have some too. Then more weeks go by, and nobody else seems interested in eating any. I move the open bag to the fridge to help preserve it. I repeatedly bring it to the front of the shelves when it gets buried so that it doesn't get forgotten. Every now and then, I have one piece or so, and find that nobody else has had any. I even intentionally sent the bag of jerky in coolers when he'd go on isolated work trips, hoping that since he'll be in a situation with limited food supplies and availability of a working kitchen, the jerky would seem like a really nice snack. But the jerky was still never depleted when it came home, and months went by. Eventually, I got fed up, finally indignant that if nobody else is ever going to eat the jerky, and I'd be happy to, I should just do it already. So I grab it from the fridge in the middle of the night because I'm snacky and drunk, sit at the computer in the dark, take a piece out of the bag, and pop it in my mouth. In the low light, I thought the one that I'd eaten just had a little extra salt on it, more dehydrated from all of the time spent going uneaten. But the next piece I pulled out was basically all white. So I turned on the light, and sure enough, still half a bag of jerky full, covered in molds, and I'd eaten it. I spent the next day scared to eat much. When it was time for dinner, I got hit with nausea and I threw up, which canonically shouldn't have had much to do with the amount that I drank the night before. I was actually just freaking out. Like, my head was doing that ringing thing. I'm losing feeling in my fingertips, breathing as hard. I'm having a panic attack thinking about the fact that I ate a fully moldy piece of jerky. Now, the amount of mold that I ate probably didn't affect me nearly as much as my anxiety worrying about having done so, but I am allergic to penicillin, so there is the chance that I am indeed reacting a bit worse than someone normally would. So, suffice to say, I had an awful time. And though I am not so self absorbed as to think that I can point my finger at my father's partner and say that this is his fault that I ate mold, by some strange extension, isn't it though? Like, if he didn't buy stuff and then leave everyone who is trying to be considerate and appreciative in limbo by never actually finishing it himself, this wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't be sick and freaking out and still feel bad about it, like I should have known better or tried harder or been more selfish and consumed it earlier. Like, it is a responsibility and a burden that I put on myself to mitigate the waste of the people I am so financially indebted to, and yet, I know they don't even care. Like, they don't see it. They're not keeping track of it, they're unbothered. And at its core, the concept of it fucks me up too. Like, that people who are not egregiously wealthy or bad people by any means are still so privileged by the system they grew up in that they can buy food and they can just forget about it. Whereas by that very same system, through no fault of mine, I cannot even fathom that. And I'm going through this dilemma here. So, it's not just that I'm upset that there was a series of micro events that led to me having a panic attack because I ate mold. It's all the things that made it possible. Other people's choices and the state of the world. Let me know in the comments below if you're like this, and if there's anything that you've done that's helped without just getting walloped with mounting emotions over small negative experiences.